cat. You gotta move. Time for you to move. Come on. You yell at me. Okay. All right. Eat a little green pepper and some hummus. And then I'm going to unbox these gauges. Yes, BTI. I'm excited because I had these made custom by Brandon, the B in BTI. The T also, his last name, Kalkmit or something like that, I forget. Anyways, yeah, so BTI gauges. So this is supposed to be a custom done 3.5 inch touchscreen for the Emtron. If you go to his website, btigauges.com, he has lots of really cool gauges, little 52 mil guys, you know, that fit the normal gauge pod. He's got screens, like a pretty big screen. And he's got some small ones, and this is supposed to be one of the small ones. Also, this is an Emtron ETC4. We're going to open and look at. This is for pissing people off at the movies when they're trying to watch, and you just try and get your freaking gummy worms out of this wrapper, right? I'm pretty sure that's what this is for. The cat just ran across the house. Ah! Anyways, no, this is a thermocouple amplifier, basically. So you do EGT. Oh, EGT. One second, let me get something. I purchased some thermocouples. This is a thermocouple that Emtron sells, and this is a thermocouple that you can get on Amazon. I'm going to test them both. Not in today's video. I might plug one in. We'll see what happens. But yeah, these are thermocouples. So these are good for measuring exhaust gas temperature. Get some more light. I don't know if that helps or not. Anyways, so these guys wire into this one, and then talk through CAN bus to the Emtron. So I'm going to see what's inside that bag here in a little while. But first, I want to look at these gauges because I'm really excited for these gauges. Brandon's website shows that these have nitrous button and some other stuff that I'm not going to use. To be honest with you, I'm not going to use a nitrous button. And so I asked him if he could change it for me. And he said yes. So I'm going to show you here. Let's see. I'm going to put screen on screen. So it works as a display. Here, so you can use it as your display. These are for menus. You can go right and left through the menus and screens and everything. So it works as a full display if you wanted to have your TAC and AFRs. And see, that's target AFR, that's boost and target boost, water temp, fuel, probably pressure, oil pressure, IAT. Right, you can have this stuff on the screen or other things. He's got a bunch of options. This one here looks like it's in a Supra, and he made these screens with the 52 mil cup on the back, so you can slide it into a normal pod if you wanted to have this screen in the pod, which I thought was pretty clever idea. He's also got them for windshield mount. So you see here, windshield mount. Does that one have the button on it? No. He's got pictures of it somewhere, and it's got like a logging button. Well, no, it doesn't log it. It has a nitrous button, and so wheel slip and boost and that kind of stuff. See this one here, you can change your boost levels. If your ECU supports it, obviously. These are integrated for Emtron, and Emtron does support some of that stuff. So that's an example of what you could do to change your boost. What's this one? So here's just more gauges. Anyways, I didn't want a nitrous button. I wanted a logging button. So with the slow death of the access port that's happening right now, I wanted to be able to get logs from my customers if they're on the track. The cool thing with the Emtron is I can set up automatic logging based on, throttle, RPM, whatever I want. I mean, it's an Emtron. I can do freaking anything that I want with it, and that's a good start. But I also want them, in case they're saying, hey, when I'm just leaving the pits, I have this hesitation. When after I start it during warm up, it has this problem. Well, that's not going to trigger the auto log because I don't have those parameters set in auto log. So with the screen, kind of like the access port, he can or she can go over and boop, push the log button, and it'll initiate a log, and it'll start logging on the ECU. And then they can stop the log and download it and email it to me. So I'm really excited for that. That cat is such a spasm. The noise just happened. She's going across the carpet. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for them to be able to hit the log. Also excited for them to be able to look at whatever they want. Not whatever they want, but within reason. Almost anything we feed into it, we can put into the gauge and on the screen for the most part. So I'm excited for that. So the question is, what's it look like? I've seen the pictures, and now I have the boxes. I want to open one. So let's do that together. These guys, nice custom boxes here, BTI. There's a W, and F. Oh, okay. Flat. F is for flat, and W is for windshield. That's right, because he told me that there are options on this that you can get the gauge one. That fucking cat. Flat or windshield mount, and the windshield mounts and the flat ones are the same, and that is a flat screen with an external box that controls it. That's what he told me. And then he said, but the gauge ones have a little thing on the back that you can offset. I think he said 9 millimeters either way. Oh, actually, here's an advertisement here in the box. So there's a thing. So there's a little, yeah, that's what it is. So that's the screen, is the back of it, and there's a circle, and that's where the 52 mil gauge would go. And he said that he could offset that 9 millimeters either way, left or right, to help it fit in a gauge cluster if you wanted, or a gauge pod or something, which maybe that's what those holes symbolize. I don't know. And then these got a screen. Here's the screen mount for the big one, the big 7-inch screen. And then that is a picture of something. I don't know what that is. Something BTI offers. But yeah, so this is the back of this one of these. If you get the gauge pod mount, you see it's got the circle on there. But these are all flat. The windows and the flat ones are all flat. So cool. So window. Where am I have to go? There it is. Watch it, cat. I'm trying to cut something here. Not you. Not today. Okay. Let's push this guy a little more. All right. Oh, pretty. Cat likes it too. It's a cleaning cloth. Oh, it's thick. Oh, I see. A little cleaning cloth for your screen. Hopefully you don't mess it up. It's nice. Hey, come on. I'm trying to do something here. Yeah, she just wants to be attention. Thank you. She's rubbing the other ones. She walked here from this. Fine, I'll do the box then. Another one of these cards. That's cool. Okay. Sticker. Performance vehicle telemetry displays. I like it. So does she. She knocked that one off. That's what you're doing, isn't it? You're just evil. All right. Foam pad. More foam. Oops, I dropped more foam on the ground. Foam pad. Lots of foam pads. That's good. Windshield mount. Okay. Yeah, a little sticky. And twisty knob. This pad. What's this pad for? Just so you can. I mean, this is a rubber sticky mount. So I don't know the 3M sticky pads for. Maybe I'll find out. What else we got? This looks like the control module he was talking about. Again, if you get the one that goes into the gauge pod, you don't need the control module. What's up, Nick? I got a phone cable on this. Oh man, having Zetronics flashbacks after seeing that. And then the connectors on the side. This looks like the jumper for terminating the CAN bus. This puts the resistor in and out of the circuit, or maybe it's, yeah, in and out of the circuit. So if you need it to be the resistor for a CAN bus, you can utilize this. I don't recall if it's in or out to terminate. I have to read the directions on that. I don't recall if this shorts out the resistor, so there's no resistor. No, that wouldn't make sense. This was put it in line. This adds it to the circuit. If you short it out, you have a short between the phases. That'd be bad. Yeah, I really like the BTI stuff. We got a CAN based cable here. We got okay. So this goes to the control module, and this is that's a 2-pin and a 4-pin. So the 4-pin is going to be your CAN. It's going to be, yeah, high-low power and ground. And this 2-pin, I don't know what that goes to. Maybe the screen? Or the screen the phone cable? No, the screen's the phone cable. Yes, I don't know what the 2-pin goes to yet. I'll find that one out here pretty soon. All right, so control module, 2-pin for something, 4-pin for CAN, like that. Here's the screen. I think someone told me I take the tape off like a psychopath to try and keep it all intact. I don't know. Not anymore now, I'm breaking. All right, there we go. Hey, it's me. Hey, guys. Yeah, it's a cool little screen. Let's see the back. Okay. I wonder if you use the same back plate for the other ones too, and this part bolts on, or you use the other thing. I don't know. All right, so I see now it's threaded in the back. So it's threaded in the back, and it must be what goes right here on the mount. Screw it in the back, like that. That's cool. They're 3D printed, if I recall correctly. I think they're all 3D printed. And then textured. I know he's changed the kind of printer he uses over the years because the texture has changed. I have a bunch of his other gauges too. You guys want to see one? I have a couple gauges actually. I could pull one out. I don't know. It doesn't have Emtron integration. It's got Link integration. But I can show you the gauge itself here. I'll get it straight out of my office. Don't fuck my shit, cat. So this is this 52 mil gauge. Look at that, great. Just kidding. Look at that wrap off that for you. So this guy is the 52. I love these things. These things are great. They have 12 screens that you can choose from. You can program the 12 screens to be, you know, whatever order you want them to be in. This goes left and right. This is the menu key. That's a light sensor, I think. Or is that the shift light? I forget. It might be a shift light. I don't recall. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure shift light. And then you can go between screens. One of them he has called everything, and it's like 12 different parameters on here. And the screen is high enough quality that even with 12 parameters on there, the name and the value, you can read it when you're driving, as long as it's not like, you know, across the car. But in like a normal A-pillar or dash pod, works really sweet. So I have a couple of these. You can daisy chain them. They're just can based, right? So you can daisy chain as many as you want, as long as you have signal strength for it. And then in the back, right here, so one of them is, they're both the same, right? They're both the same, power, ground, and can. And so you plug one in and you just get a jumper cable and attach them together. So you can run like 10 of these if you want. Have them all on different screens. You run 12 if you want. Have each one on a different screen. I have two in my A pillar, one above the other. And then one of them has my air fuel all the time, target and actual. And then the other one is usually boost or my everything gauge, or something else based on what I'm trying to do. Maybe a fuel pressure screen. He has a fuel pressure screen. That's not just fuel pressure. It's like fuel pressure target, fuel pressure, injector duty cycle, and ethanol concentration on it, and things like that. It's really cool. They're really cool. So this is the gauge that I first bought from him, this style, and I ended up buying a bunch of them because I'm putting them in people's cars and in my own cars. And so he does these for Link and Haltech, Adaptronic, and all that stuff. So this one is a Link, and yeah, it comes with the cable with the can on it. Can connector, same thing. The 4-pin. All right, so that's that. All right, where was I on the screen? Oh yeah, I want to see it. You guys want to see it? I want to see it. I wonder if I can hook it up. Let me think about this for a second before I go anywhere further. Yes, I can. I just need to crimp two. Yeah, if I crimp two pins onto here, I have my voltage, power supply. I could fire up the Emtron, and we can make it work right now. Anybody interested in that? Shoot me a comment real quick if you want me to try that before I open the ETC4. If so, I'll put two pins on this bitch, punch into the CAN bus in my jumper harness, and I got Emtrons here on the shelf. I can just fire one up on the laptop right here, and we can look at the screen and see what it looks like. I think that'd be cool. I'll wait for you guys to tell me if you want to watch that or not. If not, Matt says hell yeah. All right, well good. Good thing you said that because I was going for the next item. Let's do that. All right, I'm going to zoom this out some if I can or something. Yeah, well, glad you did. Oh, this thing lock? What's going on? I'm trying to turn my gimbal around, but it's not going left or right. Only going up and down. Weird. All right, well, it is what it is. All right, so over there is my power supply. I was using that the other day. I flashed 5 Emtrons. I was getting ready for customers. Matt's actually being one of them here in the chat. Matt, Damien, who else? Oh, Joachim. Somebody else had a bunch of Emtrons to flash and get ready. So I had to make a little jig for it. All right, Kat. I'm going to put you here in a second. So all I got to do is set up this power supply. I'm going to set it right here. I have to move my hummus, my peppers, my BMW keychain case thing, or key fob case. Alright. Just bring this guy. Put this over here. My phone. BTI shiz. Oh! Remember I was talking about FedEx? Do you guys remember that? How they charge me import duties and on a product that they return to sender. You guys remember that? Well, let me tell you. I told them to go fuck themselves. So what'd they do? They sent me to collections. So I had to call them again. And then they're like, we're not taking phone calls. I was like, you assholes. So then I had to email them. And this time, I actually got somebody who was not brain dead. And they dropped it, and I had to give it to the collection agency that they dropped it, whatever. But I got the notice, and like 5 days later, I had taken care of it. But it was still annoying. But of course, FedEx did that, right? They cost me thousands of dollars in lost sales and irreparable harm to my already tarnished reputation. Just kidding about that part, obviously. They don't really hurt my reputation too much. But they still screwed everything up. I tell them that they screwed it up, and they have the nerve to charge me for it. All right, sorry, I had to get my. This is actually Matt's Emtron right here. Matt's Emtron, and then my harness to turn it on. So this is Matt's KV8. Right there. Okay, so power and ground. That one's ground. This one's ground as well. And then this one here has got power and stuff on it, but it's also got, you guys do this out? No. It's also got the cam stuff on it. So we have the Ethernet, right? This uses Ethernet here to communicate. It's how you tune these things is through Ethernet, like so. And then power, and then crank and cam and ignition and a bunch of other stuff go in this plug. But including this plug is the can. So let's get that. Let me get this out of the way. Get my laptop. Okay, and then Anton, you guys might know Anton. He had the 07 SJ. He gave me a good idea. He said, "Hey, use this because the Emtron requires a static IP, and so does the boot mode for the BMWs. And so I have to go to my network settings and change the IP every time I want to tune one of them. And I go back and forth between Emtron and BMW all the time. So he said, just get one of these, assign this one a static IP, and that's it. And then you don't got to screw it anymore. You just plug this one in for Emtron, plug the other one in for boot mode, and you're good. No going into settings. Now, that being said, I fucked up my network settings the other day. I might have reset this one. This one's great though. It's cool. It's USB-C. Anton gave this one to me. Plug it in. Cat, you are in the way. But that's what you do, huh? Okay, so let me get the wiring diagram out real quick for the can, so I know which pins the can will be. So I'm going to load up. Let me turn this here. I'm load up Entune here. This actually is a cool website. This one here, blocklayer.com. It's got a really good gear calculator. I was going through that, doing some gear calculation stuff for the BMW. I changed the rear end ratio in my Beamer. Oh wait, it's a car. You're supposed to say Bimmer, I guess, or something. Hey, Tony. Two of these are, excuse me, two of these are spoken for, I think. I think the third one I got just for myself. Nope, Matt's base map here. Let me hit help. Go to wiring. Wait, was it a separate section? Oh, I forget. KV drawings. Rev 2, 8 pin out. There we go. All right, so in that connector, can 1 high and low. Okay, they're on the far left side there. Okay, that's not bad. Okay. So let's get that can wire. Here we go. I'm going to use this one here. Power. Oh, yeah, no, I'm not trying to talk the ECU yet. I just wanted to see I saw it unplugged because I got to plug the can into it. See, it's not no can. So I put this into it. My strippers, I saw those right here on the counter because I was dorking around the other day. White and green. Which one does he use for can high? White or green? I'm going to guess and say that it's white. I don't have strippers strong enough or small enough this tiny little wire. It's not going well. These are not going out small enough. Use my teeth, I guess. Get my wife mad at me. If you don't know, my wife's in dental. When we were dating, I put something in my mouth to strip. She fucking reached over and smacked me in the mouth. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? What the hell are you doing? Don't use your teeth. Oh shit, I'll never forget that. I'm like, man, you almost died just then. Don't do that. Yes. Alright, crimpers. These are not really good ones, but they'll work. And I got your 2 terminals real quick. 1 sec. Oh, you know what? I don't want to do that. I don't want to waste terminals. I'm going to jerry-rig this to be faster. I got some wires here. I'm going to jerry the shit out of this. All right. I have some that already had pins on it. I know, I have shit all over my house. It's bad. She still loves me. All right, so these connectors are really cool. I don't know if you've seen them before. They're really awesome. You just push this big side out. These little ones, boom, come out, and that unlocks all the pins. So you just push this. Right there, you heard it click. Now they're all unlocked. So I can put stuff in if I want. So put this orange one here. Push it in until sometimes they get stuck. Or if you don't crimp them well enough around the wire, it'll get stuck in the plug going in, and then it's a really pain in the ass to fight in there. Push it in as far as it'll go. Double check that it's fully penetrated. Penetrated. There we go. That's in. Then push the little tab back down. Like that. That locks the pins in place so they can't pull out. And that's it. That's how easy these are. Like, if only factory ECUs were that fucking easy. Alright, so I'm just going to be, like I said, I'm going to jerry-rig it. So I'm just going to twist these suckers together. Because I don't want to use brand new pins on this yet. Because I don't have my good crimpers here. And I don't want to ruin the pins. So I'm just going to twist 2 of these bastards together. Screw it. Now, which one's high and low? I gotta find that out. What is high and low? Gotta go to Brandon's webpage, btigauges.com, as you saw in the thing. Tech documents, I think that's where it's gonna be. And the AM Motec TFT display gauge manuals. There we go. Emtron. Oh, you guys can't see what I'm doing. My bad. La 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 la. Oops. Tells you where to stick it, which ones are high and low, like that. Tells you how to set it up, which we're going to need here in a few minutes. Tells you high and low here. Talks about the bus. Oh, okay. So those 2 wires I was talking about, those are the analog outputs. I was saying you can hook a button up. So it has analog outputs for boost control and trash control. That's really cool. I thought they were CAN, but that's neat. So I can use those for all sorts of things. Okay, so white is CAN high. I think that's what I said, because the green is kind of like a ground to me. And white's like hot in your house. Oh no, black's hot. White's common, but whatever. Okay, so white is high. That's what we want. So, Does it move? Why is the gimbal's freaking out? All right. High was white. This one here is high. Twist these pigs together. This is the best way to conduct electricity. Don't let anyone tell you differently. This is absolutely the best way. I'm going to fold them over because ultra conduction. Ultra conduction. All right, like this. Oh, I had that fucking kit over there. I could use that. I wasn't thinking about that. Okay. I need to strip the positive and negative and put something over these so they don't short out the can highs and lows to each other. Something you wouldn't have to worry about if you were doing this correctly. Come on now. I won't use my teeth, but if I do that, I can't do that on camera, right? I can't have evidence. I'll get smacked in the mouth again by my abusive wife. I'm just kidding. My wife's the best. Absolutely not abusive or nothing. Send help. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. There we go. Okay. This one to power. This is super, super ghetto. Super ghetto. But super functional. Functional. Yeah. I got a cat yawn. She's funny. See this one? I got this little terminal. I crimped all these together into one terminal. But that means I can't twist this guy on here now. Hey, you calm down. Shut up. She's hissing at the other cat. She likes to do that. You'd think after like 14 years the cats would learn to get along. Nope. Nope. That is way too much to ask for. Here's power. Okay, put this together again. Before I fire it up, let's verify one last time I got it hooked up right. Ground, power, can high and low. Okay. That looks good. Let me turn on my power supply. Come on, baby. There it goes. Check the Emtron really quick. See if it powered up and saw the ECU. It sure did. Close the file. Okay. Do you want to save? No, I don't. All right. Let's do this part now. Oh, good. Excellent glare. That's perfect. There you go. All right, let's open this ECU. We're going to go to configure communications because we're going to do CAN bus 2, CAN bus 1 in this case. That probably was a mistake because CAN bus 1's already set up for the OEM CAN stuff for Matt's 08 or 08. Sorry, Matt. I know it's not an 08. For his GR. All right, so what did Brandon say had to be set at? Let's find out what Brandon said first. Let's go back to the setup. He says we're going to use 1 megabit per second baud rate. I like that. CAN address 1250, transmit rate 20 hertz. All right, set enable on. Okay. Communications, CAN bus 1, CAN bus 1 setup. 1 meg. 500 is factory stuff. I don't know why so much of the factory, so many of the OEMs use 500 and so many of the aftermarket companies use a full meg, and that's weird to me. Let's go channel 6. Channel 6 on. Okay, CAN base address, it said 1250. What else did it say? Data set. Okay, what did he say for that one? CAN channel 1 or 2 on CAN 1250. Data set predefined. Addressing to sequential. And transmit rate 20. Predefined 1. Addressing, sequential. Oh, did it say 11 or 29? I don't recall. Transmit, and then 20 hertz. Oops. Let's look at that one more time. Doesn't say whether it's 11. Oh, he's got 11 here on the thing. I can read that, it says 11. All right. So, is that it? I think we're good, right? Okay, so that should be set up. We just double check. Predefined 1250, 11-bit, sequential. Oh, this says receive and transmit at 20 hertz. Okay. To receive and transmit. There we go, 20 hertz. Okay, I'm going to save this. Actually, I cancel. I'm going to save it as a different file so I don't overwrite. And that's base map. That base map can test BTI. Sure, that sounds good. All right, I'm going to push F4. Anytime you do CAN stuff, you're supposed to reset the ECU. They want you to do that. So I saved to the ECU. Now I'm going to turn it off with the power button on my thing. It is now off. This will eventually get pissed off and say, oh my God, where'd he go? And then I'm going to say, I'm right here. I push it on back on again. There we go. I know, I'm goofy. I'm not a hard fuckboy on the internet, right? Let's see. Man, this one more. I know, dude, it's awesome. The UI is pretty decent for the Emtron. It definitely has some stuff that makes you go, wow, but for the most part, it's pretty good. I know it's really hard with this to fit certain functions under certain titles, you know. Sometimes you might want, I don't fucking know. I'm not gonna bother wasting time trying to make up something. Where's my screen? My dashboard isn't there. That's weird. I don't know. Interesting. Okay. All right. So that is now going. Obviously, I'm not going to have any engine indications on here. I don't know if this has a simulator on it. I know that Emtron has a simulator at their place, but I don't know if this has one built into it. That'd be pretty cool. Adaptronic does. They have one that's built in. You can simulate some things and look at stuff. So now I'm going to plug in the screen. I'm going to do the screen thing now. I want to turn power off to it first. Power off. My wife texted me. She said, yay. Excellent. I'm glad we agree. All right. Where'd the screen go? I put it on the ground. Oof. Fine. Where'd the power cable go? Ah, there it is. Here's our cable. Puts in. Looks like it should have gone that way. Oh, she's being stubborn. Okay. Okay, that's in there. Screen cable. That's on. Like so. Not sure whose this is that we're playing with. It's one of the customers. Plug it in. All right. Like that. All right. Big wiring mess here on the desk, but double check, make sure nothing's shorted up before I hit power again. Nope, everything looks good. Power's on. Can I fast forward chat, or will I miss something? You can fast forward, I think. How expensive is the OEM integration for the Emtron? How extensive? That's the only thing that the link sucks. Yeah, it's true. It's really good. You won't find yourself going, oh man, I wish this worked, right? Like it's really good on the Emtron. Emtron has a nice cruise package too, so cruise control works, and I don't think you get cruise control with the link either. So cruise control works on the Emtron. It works really good. And the cool thing is you can set up the buttons to do whatever you want. So if you saw that short video I had, it wasn't a very good video. I was trying to demonstrate how well the rolling launch control works on it. And all you do is hold the way I set it up. Obviously, any Emtron tuner can set up however the hell they want. My method was using the cancel button on the cruise control because it's right there on the wheel. And so you just, hold the cancel button and it creates the rolling launch. Now, what I did is different than just about anybody else. I set it up so that whatever RPM you're at whatever speed you're at, whatever gear you're at, that's where it locks in when you hold the cancel button. That's my own method of doing it. So if I go up here, at the top of the screen there, you see rolling launch control. I go to target here. Then this map here, this table, is actually by gear, 0 and 1 through 6. And in here is the mile per hour for that car at these various RPMs. The top is RPM, and these are all the mile per hour. So what that means is whenever you're in this on this map, when it's activated, this is where it's going to lock you in. So this is the target. The rolling launch target is this table. So I set it up, like I said, based on gear and RPM, and then put the speed in there. Because the rolling launch functions off of either, this might do torque or speed. I want it based on speed. So that's the map I made. Whenever you hit the cancel, that's where it locks you in within 5 kilometers per hour, which is like 2.7 miles an hour. That's what you get. That's the rolling launch. That's super cool. The ethanol works fully. The Emtron has an OBD support as well. So if you hooked up the OBD bus to the Emtron, to one of the outputs, I don't know if it's on the can or what, but you can actually display OBD data. It's not USDM OBD data. It's European OBD data, which has a slight difference in the US stuff because it doesn't have the emissions stuff on it. But you can actually use an OBD scanner and talk to the Emtron or ask the Emtron for information through OBD, which I think is really fucking cool. So if you do wire it in, I don't have it wired in on any of the cars on the Subaru, as far as I know. It might be on CAN 2. No, CAN 2 is not. CAN 2 is separate on the harness. Never mind. Yeah, so I don't have it wired in on Subarus and all, but you technically could do it and then enable some OBD data. So if you had like an OBD scanner or an aftermarket gauge hooked to an OBD, you'd be able to get base OBD data from it. So that's pretty cool. The Emtron does that. I don't know any other ones that do that. Maybe Motec, maybe. So all right, so this is the Bti gauge here. Looks pretty good. Obviously I got an opened coolant temp sensor, low fuel pressure, no ethanol. IAT is 68. That's actually surprising. I must have it set up as a fault to default to 68 so that it doesn't do something crazy. Here's another screen here. We got fuel stuff on here. That's pretty cool. What's this graph? What's that do? Oh, you can do traces. It does traces for you. That's freaking neat. And here's peak and back to live. That's really awesome. Okay. Temperatures and peak temps. So your current temps and the peak temps that you got. Touch peak to reset. Oh, peak. That's that one there. Must be that. Back to the main gauge again. Where's the... Oh, here we go. Another one. This isn't the main gauge. I'm stupid. This one here is O2, current, target, pressure target, and peak boost. Here we have another peak boost freeze frame one. That's pretty cool. Tells you everything that happened at peak boost, including battery volts. That's really neat. What's this one? AFR channels, gear, RPM, speed, crank error sinks. That's pretty cool. Fuel pressure, oil pressure, water pressure if you want. If you want to put a sensor into the crankcase to check for water pressure, make sure they're not lifting heads, you can do that. Ethanol, jet duty cycle, TPS. This is all on here. This is pretty cool. NOx stuff. That's cool. This says number cylinder. What's that do? Oh, okay. Well, it's a 4-cylinder car, so we have 4, but we can go to 6 cylinders. And then it'll say 6 cylinders. That's pretty cool. Here's another one. AFR. That's cool. That's kind of neat. It's this slidey gauge here. The colors look really good. The camera does not pick it up nearly as good as it is in real life. And then boost. That's neat, like that. Here's another one. Airbox. I don't know if that is the temperature or what. IAT, water temp, oil. That's cool. Gear. Oh, big gear counter in the center. So you can use it as your gear counter if you wanted. That's pretty sweet. So you have a big 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever on that. That's pretty neat. Unfortunately, right now we're in gear 0. As the Emtron's telling us right here, gear 0. So we're not going to have anything displayed there. That's really neat too. That's cool. Analog sliders. So you get an idea if things are green or things are red. Dig that. Back to the main screen again. Now where's the logging button? I thought we had that on here. Oh, there we go. Logging, on or off. Active, sweet. So I can set up a channel in the Emtron. I gotta set an input to that, and then put that into the Emtron and activate logging with it. That's pretty cool. Flat foot shifting on and off. Anti-lag on and off. It's not a toggle. That's just a press. I'll have to change that probably. Launch on, launch off. Oh, sweet. Look at that. Bias, front to rear bias. I could definitely set that up if I wanted. Slip. This is a slip target, I believe. That's what that one's for. Boost targets. You can go up or down with it. Can transmit address. Oh, cool. So I can set up what I want it to output. How do I go back? Okay. That's cool. So we can set that up. What else we got? Shift light. Nice. RPM scale. So we can set up our parameters. Here's I can transmit again. Boost steps. Traction steps. Base fuel pressure. Screen dimmer. It didn't go right again. It dimmed, but it didn't go right. I gotta tap it. Okay. There you go. Baud rate. Oh, you can change it though. That's cool. So I can change it to 500 if I want. So I can put it on CAN 1 and leave it on CAN 1 with the OEM stuff if I wanted to. That's freaking cool. So I'll use another channel, put it on the OEM CAN bus, put it at 500, and that'll work that way. Sweet. This is all kinds of features, huh? This is badass. I like it. So let's see. If customer is on main screen, wherever that's at, or gear screen. So I can't do log from the gear screen. But if they're on the main screen, I can't do logging for the main screen either. Oh, wait. Is that the gear? Right there. So you can push that button and then go bloop and turn logging on. Nice. And then you just bloop, turn back off again. This is awesome. I'm excited. That's about as animated as I get. So, yeah, this is my excited face. Just kidding. All right. Can you customize the pages? I think I answered that, right? Did I answer that by doing that stuff? I don't know if you can't customize the pages themselves, with the exception of what's in the settings for them. So, like O2s, how many O2s you got, and how do you want the count? 2 counts, or 2 O2s or 1 O2. RPM scale, how high you want the RPM to read. Put it to 9,000 instead of 8,000. Parameter scale, you can scale. So if I don't want my coolant temp read 250 on that slider, right? That's got the slider bars. So I can set the maxes on it. I don't know how. Okay, so you touch it. On the name, then punch in the new value, 55, enter. So now the max boost is 55 pounds of boost. Oops, that's the name, not the number. There we go. So let's go to 45. Since some people have 40 pounds of boost. Yeah, that's it. And then, so that's that. So that one would be good for this screen. Set the IAT max, so whatever you want. Change coolant to whatever. But also really good for this screen, because now the red is going to be whatever the max was on there. So that's pretty cool. But I like this. I like that it's got target boost on this side, target AFR here. So existing AFR, target AFR, you can tell right away, how far off am I? And all that. That's really cool. That's badass. All right. The question is, can I hook the EGT sensor up right now? I'm curious if I can hook the EGT up too. Let's open that package. We'll see if we can get both of these CAN-based Perry meters running. There we go. I don't know if I got a Y or not. Might have to intercept it instead. I don't think I was thinking about it. That's why I hesitated. I might have a Y somewhere. I'm trying to think where I have it. All right, so here's the ETC4. Just opened it out of that box. So we've got the CAN base, which is power and CAN stuff here. And this is the output to all of the thermocouples, I'm guessing. Yeah. So it comes with a plug. So I got to put all the thermocouples into the plug. Can you see that or not? Kind of, yeah. And so the plug comes here, and so I got to wire the couples into that. Now their thermocouple above theirs does not have pins on it. So there's no pins on it yet. It just is bare wire. So I have to crimp on the pins that they gave me and then push that into the connector that goes on this. So that's something. All right. I'm going to kill power to unplug the Bti gauge since that's not working, or if I don't have a Y handy. And then I'm going to plug in the ETC4. Man, I wish I had a Y handy. That'd be cool. I'm trying to think where I might have one. Oh, it's the wrong way. Well, that's unfortunate. What does the harness have? I'll be right back. Check the harness. All right. So Boomslang does it right. I'll show you. So this is the Boomslang harness that I got from Matt. This guy here. This is for Matt's car. It's got a CAN port already on it, wired in, big long one, and it's the male, so that's right for the Emtron stuff. So I wonder if I can get Brandon from BTI to make these the other way, because that sucks. Because they're the wrong male / female ends. Oh no, that's gonna be a bitch. I mean, it's not total bitch. I put it to CAN bus 2, but I'm gonna want to have a lot of this on CAN bus 2, and this is CAN bus 2. So I'm gonna have to talk to Brandon about that. Maybe he starts swapping the males for female for the Emtron integration ones. Yeah, because that's not gonna work. Because here's the Emtron one, and it's a male as well. Boop, boop. All right. Well. So for the Emtron, let's see if I can move this camera for you. I want to do this. I think this gimbal's dying. It's brand new. Come on now. I'm in the menu. There we go. All right. All right, so what I'm going to do is take it out of this one. It's just 4 wires, I think. How's he got it set up? Fudge. That's not going to work either. So he's got that going there. Poop. Want to hook that up. All right, so I'm going to contact Brandon and ask him if he can change the plugs for the Emtron guys, because that is obviously backwards. Crap! I really wanted to do that. I wanted to do it, and I wanted to run some of these and see what the display said, if they're not right. I was surprised how small this thing is. That's actually the thing I was really surprised with, is how small the ETC4 is. It's a little guy. I mean, the plug is almost the size of the box. I'm glad that it's small, and I think it looks like a little mini Emtron. That's cute, right? Because it's got kind of the same look as the ECU. It's like a little mini Emtron. It's really cute. I like it. I like it. All right. Put this away. Darn it. This is Damien's EGT amplifier. Thank you, Damien, for letting me open it for everybody. Oh. Well, shoot, I really wanted to do that. That's a bummer. Thought that'd been cool. Let's turn this camera on. There we go. All right. Any comments I missed? Nope. Who's still here? Send people. Hey, you guys got any questions about this? It's cool stuff. Obviously, I'm bummed that the connector is backwards for how Emtron hooks it up. I think this way, the way that Brandon has it, might be how Haltech does it. I'll have to check. I have some Haltech harnesses in my garage, so might check Haltech and see if their factory harnesses have the can as a male instead of female. Hey, Kenneth, finally made it, huh? You missed everything. Bloopers and all. So, anyways, that's all I got for you today. I just wanted to show you guys that. I thought it'd be really cool. Got to talk to the Emtron live. Got to put it to the screen. That's really cool. Didn't get to use the thermocouples, unfortunately, because I don't have the right connector for that. But hopefully you got to see a little bit of what the Emtron has to offer in the software package. I only showed you, like, 2 menus or something, but it's really cool. There's a lot of cool stuff. One thing I really like about it, I'm going to show you this. I like this. This is really cool. So I want to know, what have I used? What do I have available? Right, when you go to configure, if I go to configure and I'm doing my inputs, right? Well, they don't have it done by input pin. They have it done by input function, which means if I want to know what I have set to ANV10, which is a 0 to 5 analog number 10 input, I gotta click on it. Let's see, is it here? No, is it here? I gotta go looking for it, right? And maybe I'm not even using it, and I don't even realize it. That sucks to do it that way. But what you can do is you hit File and you go to ECU Overview. Click this. This brings up details about the ECU and the file, what firmware build it is, what CAL files and stuff are used, and then it shows the inputs, input assignment. Here's the inputs and what they're being used for right here. Now, this is something here for the question you guys about the CAN bus stuff. CAN bus OEM. These are all OEM parameters that are being used as input. So this is what it's reading from the bus. So it's reading traction enable switch, drive speed for all 4 wheels, steering wheel angle, which is really awesome because you can use steering wheel angle. You can use the onboard sensors, the yaw sensors, and all of that, and program an output to control your center diff if you wanted to. Evap temperature, so your AC works if you want to have an AC that works. Vehicle speed, obviously important, but they have that separate than the wheel speed, which I think is interesting. But it's cool because then you can apply individual wheel speeds to a traction control scenario should you choose to use traction control. On the Emtron, you can do that. Brake pressure front. I bet you didn't even know that the Subaru, in this case, has brake pressure on the GR. That's fucking cool. I wish I had brake pressure on the old stuff. Brake pressure is really handy because you can use that to determine how aggressive you're braking, and not just a brake switch. So brake pressure is really good because you can set your differential up under high brake pressure that it locks the diff up to keep the fronts or rears from locking on their own under heavy pedal effort. If you just do the switch, well, it doesn't tell you anything, right? But if you can set a threshold, so super high brake pressure, oh shit, like that's, you can lock the wheels to prevent slip or lock up. So you can lock the diff to prevent wheel lockup. So that's really cool. And other things with brake pressure. For track guys, you can look at your brake pressure on the track for certain turns to determine how aggressive am I applying brakes throughout the track. Where do I need to, either work on my line? Oh yeah, I'm hitting the brakes way hard here. My mile per hour coming out of the turn is too slow. Or you look at mile per hour because the turn is too slow. Why is it too slow? Am I not accelerating soon enough? It's just my mile per hour is low. What am I doing? You can check brake pressure and other things to see if you're just laying on the brakes too hard. Also, if you were on an undulating track, you could look at how much brake pressure you could apply over the undulations before you got wheel lockup, and then you can use that to kind of tailor your driving and just learn more about the track overall. Cool stuff with brake pressure. AC switch, just so you can actually use the AC. This thing will function AC just like the factory will, which is really awesome. It'll use the cruise control similar to the factory. Like all that stuff's on the CAN bus, and it's available for use. Your digital inputs here, and here they are. Switches, typically the switches: brake switch, power steering switch, AC pressure switch, gear cut switch, clutch switch, right? Ethanol sensor, not a switch, but it is a digital signal. It's a frequency-based signal. Just like your cams, your cam position is a frequency-based signal. So those go in digital inputs. Cool stuff there. What else we got? Barometric pressure internal, and then internal G-force. So once you get everything done, installed, you mount your Emtron rigidly to the chassis. Once you mount it rigidly to the chassis, then you can calibrate these sensors for 0, and then know when you're turning, because you can put the Emtron on its side and have to calibrate these sensors, so latitude, longitude, vertical, whatever are set right. Internal lambda 1 is being used, but not lambda 2, because there's no lambda 2 on here. This is only used input. So if you look right here, 1, 2, 3, no 4, 5, no 6 or 7, 8, 9, 2 9s, that's intentional, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So the ones that are missing are ones that are free that you can use. The 2 9s are being used because one of them is the clutch switch, and we use it for shifting as well. So that's a gear cut. That's both of those. Auxiliary outputs now are the loads that the ECU has. And in there, CAN bus stuff. Again, CAN bus OEM, check engine light, cruise light, TAC. Those are on there. The TAC is not CAN on all vehicles. So early GR is not on the CAN. I'm pretty sure early GR is not, but VA is. I think that's the difference on them. So you will have an output on GDs, and I'm pretty sure you'll have an output that'll be an aux channel for your TAC on the early GRs. EFI relay, that's the main relay on the Subaru. Heaters, internal lambda heater. Well, it's always going to be that because I can't change that regardless. Outputs for injection. So the injection channels, we're using 5. The 5th one I'm using not on this car, but it's set up for, I think that's set up as a cooling pump on Mike Libby's car. I think that's what it is on Mike's car. Coils, drive-by-wire power relay, your fans, and fuel pump. This one you see fuel pump 2. Okay, this is fuel pump 2. This is a fuel pump in Josh's car that's in a surge tank, and it's just an on-off pump. And then the fuel pump speed is right here on this aux channel. That's for the factory controller. And the cool thing is I can run as many fuel pump speeds as I want. I can run 4, I think up to 4 fuel pumps, 2 of them switched and 2 of them speed controlled with the Emtron. So I can set different pumps in different tanks to go different speeds if I want, and I can just do that in the tune no matter what I want to do. Okay, so let's see, guys. I saw a question come in. I want to finish what I was talking about before I address that. Random question. Does the Emtron have support for Mazda OEM CAN bus? Planning a future engine swap build. Only thing missing is a standalone ECU. What was one? Oh, it was the Hyundai I was looking at the other day. One of them I was looking at, you need to have this adapter board. Let's find out. So we'll go to configure, communications, CAN bus setup. Oops, not CAN bus setup. I'm stupid, sorry. CAN bus 1 channel. Go to channel 6 where you have this on. And then we'll click enable data set. Now look at the data set. What do we got? Emtron custom EML4. That's their Lambda, 4-channel Lambda. E888, that is the Motec. That's the input-output expansion device. So if I needed to add more inputs to this because there's not enough, I want to know my shock positions, my wastegate positions, and I just ran out of them on the box here. You can get the Motec expansion. Now they also have Emtron as their own expansion as well. Here's the Subaru ones. Ford, BA, BF, FG. That's cool. Some Australian stuff. BRZ. RX-8. Here we go. So here's RX-8. That's on there. BMW, Can-Am Maverick, Nissan D40, VW Golf, Porsche, Yamaha, YZXs with paddle shifter. That's cool. R35, Honda Jazz, Nissan Patrol. These are a lot of Nissan Patrols. Evo X, 8-way keypad. I have the keypad. It's fucking cool. I'm putting one in my car. OBD2. So you'll see they have the OBD2 protocol. So I can set up to talk on OBD2 protocol. I'm pretty sure if you do OBD2, though, it has to be isolated on its own. You can't have this on the canvas with a bunch of other stuff. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the case on that one. Emtron GPS. The HPI 5. This is really cool. This is for direct injected vehicles. So for direct injected vehicles, you can use the HPI 5 it's the driver for the direct injector. So that's the driver for the injectors. And so you can do port injection off the Emtron and then direct injection off the HPI 5, which also controls fuel pumps. It's capable of doing that as well. DI pumps. EL4. Which one's the EL4? I forget. I don't know. ELCM devices. These are other ones. The ETC4, that's the thermocouple one that we're doing, that we're trying to run. ETC8 motorsports, that's 8 thermocouples, and M is for motorsports. So if you see an M at the end, that's the motorsports. That's the connector that's on them. It's not going to have the regular amp connectors or not amp, whatever. It's not going to have the DTM stuff on it or whatever. It's going to be the multi-pin motorsports, military, mil-spec looking connectors. EIC16M, this is an input module that you can get another 16 channels basically of inputs, digitals and analogs and whatever that you can run or that you can talk to the CAN. So if you want to get all this chassis, suspension, turbo speeds or whatever that you want to get just more data, wastegate position, buttons in the car. I want to hook up more digital buttons to it and have it tell this that things are going on. That's what that's for. The EIC10 is the non-motorsports one. This is the motorsports one. It's fucking expensive. 16 channels, motorsports connector. The 10 is the standard connector like the ETC4 there, but they're out of stock forever because of issues with supply and COVID and fucking everything up. The last one here, single packet enable. That is if I have a single parameter that I want to boop send out. So if I wanted to set this up for low oil level, I can have this send the single packet that has the oil level in the like the VA WXSTI cluster that has oil level on it. It's all Putin's fault, right? Yeah. Seems like Emtron actually has all the features of the map-BCD controller, plus more. Yeah, it does. The thing it doesn't have the driver for it, I don't think. I don't recall what type of signal the DCCD controller uses. So I don't think it has the actual, or has a good enough channel to drive it. It might. I have to look into that. I'll have to ask Matt from Map DCCD, ask him if it, in fact, or what the PWM is for that thing. Because I don't know. Chances are it would use an injector or an ignition channel, because it would need to be a high current channel to run the DCCD. I just don't know what the answer is for the DCCD, if you can run directly off of it or not. I know that we can set up a 4D channel on it. I can set up a map with an output, because the map DCCD controller has a 4D input. And so I can set up one of the outputs of this based on the parameters I had on the CAN bus. I can make maps, and then in the user functions up here, and I can make maps and then output a signal from 0 to 5 volts or whatever I want to output for a signal to tell the map DCC controller that's the input for it. And so in the, I don't have the software on this, I reset this computer. But in the map EC software, there's an option for 4D input, and there's a wire. And so you could feed it that input. And you could essentially, if you wanted to, run the whole thing off the 4D input and ignore almost everything in the map system itself, if you so desired. You could do that. Not all of it ignored, but pretty much all of it. And then just run it off of the calculation on this if you wanted, and just make the map controller basically a DCD display with the readout across it, and then the actual driver for the thing. So those are options. Or you could set parameters based on, like I said before, brake force, and I could put that 40 output based on brake force. So if all I wanted to do was just add in brake force input to the map DCC controller, which is already a really good controller, I would use the 4D wire, put in brake force, and have that bias the results inside the map DCCD software, which is really cool. So yeah, all this stuff, for the most part, can be used to communicate with other things or to take data and transfer. Like, so I can go, if I wanted to use CAN bus, which I'm not doing CAN bus for maps, so let's do it the other way. So if we're going to do it, we do functions, output. Come on now, there we go. User functions. Well, they have motorsport functions. Might be able to use differential control here. I haven't used this output before. Let's see what we got. This one's solenoid PWM. Okay. So it's got a PWM output, and it's saying we should utilize, okay, aux channels or ignition. Okay, so probably have to read the manual to see exactly which one we can use for it, but it looks like this one will drive a differential controller with a solenoid PWM base, so we can figure out what the DCCD uses and if the current from those outputs is high enough. But it looks like you could do it right here. We'll just say aux or injection 7, because we weren't using that. 100 hertz, that's great, good to go, hit OK. Now that function is active under motorsports, so now we go to tuning, go to motorsports functions, go to, okay, this happens all the time. For some reason, it doesn't activate sometimes, so I have to save it, save the map, and it's just a bug in the software. Save it. I can't store it to ECU or anything like that. Sometimes you just close the file and reopen it like that. Then motorsports, it's not there again. Okay. So sometimes I just have to close the software, which is weird. I sure don't close. Oops, I thought I said you want to save. Let's try it again. Down there, guys. Still open. If you know, you know. Open cal file. Let's see if it works now. There it is, differential control. So a little glitchy sometimes. So if I want to use their existing stuff, then we can do handbrake unlock enable. So if you set a handbrake input into here, or if it's on the CAN bus already, or let's say you ran out of inputs on the Emtron, and so you use the EIC16 or the E888 by Motec, you could put the handbrake to that, and the CAN bus would go in and tell the handbrake. Well, handbrake unlock enable is off right now. So let's just say I go, oh, well, I want to know the handbrake from that CAN. So then we go channels, input, and then usually that's under vehicle. I think it's under vehicle. The handbrake. Handbrake switch. So handbrake switch like that. Go to input source, and then we can find what it is. Whether you want to be, if it's on the computer, it's a digital input. If it was OEM CAN bus stuff, you click OEM CAN, or you got it here, CAN ELC, DI frequency, CAN EGT. So you can go into any of these. Here you go, EIC16. So here's that expansion module I was telling you about, and we'll say we put on number 6. So now it knows that the handbrake switch comes from the CAN bus from your expansion module, and that tells it that the handbrake is on or off. Keypad, except for a keypad button, which would be weird because, you know, that'd be weird. Yeah. So we tell it where the handbrake is at, and then we go back to motorsports differential setup, and turn that on. Override mode. So here's diff override mode. This one's a custom override mode. So again, if I want to have a situation where one thing is tripping a full lock, then I can set that up, and I can use the user maps here to set up a whole list of parameters. So user functions, we'll say user 6, we'll have this. Launch control, okay. Rolling launch. I don't know what I have 4 set up for. Let's see what's 4 say. Nothing. Okay, so 4 is not set up. So I could use this output 4, and I can set the parameters here, and it's Boolean expression. So it's this, basically, if this is this, I'm sorry, if this is greater than this, and this is greater than this, then it's on. Or that's not enough, I need more. You know, and then I say, or that's good, but I also need, or maybe these two need to be something else, basically, and you can trigger an on or off condition with it like that, and then set your delays for how long to go on and off. And if you don't want it to be just simple switches, then you go the same thing and you go to the table. But to do that, you got to enable it in the diagnostics. Let's see if I have one already that's done though. Okay, this one's got a table. And I'm not using it, but so you can set table up. Okay, so here's my table. What do I want the table to be based on? Well, I want the table to be based on, and I can say brake pressure. We talked about brake pressure, right? So brake pressure front. I want it to become based on brake pressure, and I want it to be based on yaw rate. So if I'm yawing very quickly, something happened, and that's obviously not a very good axis, but I can set that. We'll say starting value. We'll go negative 200. Increment is 50. And then I can generate that. There we go. Now I have a table here based on brake pressure, lots of brake pressure, and yaw rate. So let's just say that in a situation where I slam on the brakes and all of a sudden the car starts rotating very quickly, then it might say, bam, let's lock it up. So I can go, well, here's a high situation, high brake pressure, high yaw rate. I want 99% on the lockup. And then here's high pressure, high yaw rate the other direction. So we got like left and right. But if it's high pressure with no yaw, then maybe I only want a little bit of lockup. I want 50% there or something, right? I can do something along those lines. Or I can do opposite of that. I want it to be low lockup in this because I'm actually trying to turn the car. And this one is I'm trying to brake in a straight line very heavily, so I have high lockup. And so I can set up, say, well, I'm just trying to rotate the car, and I don't want the diff to get really, really locked because then that might make the car push, right? And we don't want to push. So then we do something like this, and we just interpolate in this, which is C for column and R for row on these. And now I have a situation where heavy brake pressure, and I'm turning the car quickly. It only locks up a little bit. Maybe I don't want any. Maybe I want the car to rotate really well, and I'm in rally. I want to pivot around the nose. I want those back tires to lock up. I set it for 0. Now I'm telling it heavy brake pressure, a lot of yaw, and no lockup at all, so that the car rotates around the nose really aggressively, right? So, but in a straight line, a lot of brake pressure, hardly any yaw. The car stays planted and square, and all the tires are going the same speed. I told you once, I told you 1,000 times, like my fucking plants. My cat was eating the plants. All right. There are 2 5-volt channels and 2 O2 sensor grounds. Now, this 2 are power channels. A power map sensor on the first 5-volt channel and ground on the second creates a ground loop. What are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about the reference channels for the sensors. I see what you're talking about. So in the sensor setup, you say whether it's on a reference 1 or reference 2 for the 5-volt. I don't think they have separate grounds, do they? I thought they didn't have separate grounds. No, they don't have separate grounds. It just says sensor 0 reference. It doesn't say to which 5-volt it's referencing from. So the ECU measures this 5-volt to ground and this 5-volt to the same ground. And it knows if one of those 5 volts is off a smidge, then the sensor that's using that reference, it knows how to scale it correctly for on it. But no, it's using the same ground. Those aren't different references, they're the same reference. So I want to stress that, Anton. What else we got? Nope. Hey, Joachim. Actually, I was talking about you earlier, dude. Lee Hilton, first time catching a live stream. Want to say, hey, what's up? Love the info you share. Good stuff. Hey, thanks, Lee. I appreciate the kind words. I think I got everybody. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you made a stream. I'm sorry you made it at the end. Oh, hiccups. Epic internet fail. So, anyways, yeah, so the sensor references are both 0. They're the same ones. It's not reference 1, reference 2, so I think you're okay there. I'm going to check the writing and see if that's correct. What pin is it? C17 and 18. Yeah, it just says analog sensor 0-volt reference. And then 17 and 25, I mean. Analog sensor, yeah, so there you go. It's the same one. It's not a different ground. This is important stuff right here. I didn't know the specifics about the Emtron for inputs. This one here is talking about outputs. But they do tell you some caveats. This one doesn't say, not that one. So this is an important one. So this is for drive-by-wire stuff. So pin D20 is a dedicated power supply for aux channels 9 through 12. So that's stuff that you use for drive-by-wire. In fact, it's right here. Oh. So, in driveway application, power to this pin must come from the ECU controlled relay. So that's important. So, Rev 2, I think. This is Rev 2, right? Pretty sure this is Rev 2. Yeah, this is Rev 2. It's Rev 2, my friend. You are good. No ground loops. What the fuck are you talking about? ECU wiring Rev 2. This one? Yeah, it just shows you 2 different inputs. That's all. 0 sensor ref, 0 sensor ref. But it doesn't say reference 1, reference 2. It's the same thing. They're the same point electrically. I mean, in this drawing, they have some ECU stuff on this same channel, which makes sense because in almost every factory wiring harness, these are all use the same reference in the engine bay, you know, and they're all in the same harness, so it's naturally going to go there. But it doesn't have to go there, you know. But if you're doing a Subaru loom like Boomslang did, that's what you're going to get. They're going to go to the same pin. And then the other stuff, other body things or other stuff is going to go to this other 0 volt reference there. And I think in the Boomslang harness, that one's actually open. I'm pretty sure that reference is open. He didn't use it. And the other 5 volt output is open. And he has another thing open as well. And I use those frequently for other sensors. Like say I want to do fuel pressure or fuel level or something that's not already in the harness, and I don't have any room on the engine harness or something to adapt to, I run 3 wires into wherever the ECU is located, and I punch one into here, punch one into 5 volt, and punch one into whatever input that I need to use. And then bam, I have a working sensor. So I'm pretty sure the Boomslang harness doesn't have anything on this one. I think that one's completely empty. Let me, let's see, I hit the button. Let me get the harness to complete. KV8 pin out Rev 2. Connector C. Connector C has 1 divider. Okay, that's right here. Yeah, so see here, this is what I use on this one, so I can show you. So this connector here on the far right there, you'll see all those empty pins. The second row one up from the bottom on the outside edge, that's that 0 volt reference. And the bottom right is DI8. And so if I'm adding, like, say, an ethanol sensor to it, I'll use that DI8. I can't use the 5 volt because ethanol needs a 12 volt, but I'll use that DI8. Now, if I'm doing fuel pressure, like I said, I'll use the 5 volt from the 5 volt supply off this small one. 5 volt reference on the bottom is available. Reference 2 is open. So I'll use this 5 volt reference. I'll use this 0. And next to that 0 is the very last analog input that's available on it, AV16. And I'll run that to like a TMAP sensor or fuel pressure or whatever it is I need to add. I'll use that and I'll just run those 3 in there. And then that's a quick way to run 1 additional sensor. Obviously, if I have more sensors to add, then it takes a little more iron to do so. Oof. All right. Any more KV questions or Emtron questions? I need to end this stream here. I am getting talked out. My voice is not doing it. On a Subi, if you have the complex and a fuel sensor, do you have to rewire it, or can you see to use it? You can technically use the existing wiring, but I highly recommend that you do not. I can't recommend that you don't strong enough for the ethanol sensor. For the fuel pressure, there it goes. For the fuel pressure, Yeah, use it. Use all you want. For the fuel pressure, it's perfect. It's easy because it's the TGV, right? And it's right there in that plug, 5-volt ground signal. Fuel pressure goes right to it. A manifold pressure, we go right to it. Exhaust manifold pressure, go right to that, right? That's great. And oil pressure, if you want actual oil pressure, goes right to that. That's a perfect one to use for both sides. You can do it on both sides. But I do not in any way recommend using the left TGV or right TGV input for ethanol at all. I can't say that enough. One, it occupies a analog, well, it occupies an analog input, and analog inputs are harder to come by than digital inputs. And ethanol uses digital usually. But in the comp system, it has that converter box. That converter box takes the digital output from the sensor and produces a 0 to 5. And you don't want that. You don't want that converter box. Get that fucking thing out of there. You don't want none of that shit. You want the ethanol sensor to go right to the ECU. You don't want any conversion, none of that shit in between, for lots of reasons. One of them, you don't have the converter that's failing all the time. Those things fucking fail all the time. Two, you don't get any of the diagnostic information that the ethanol sensor provides on its output signal. Cobb takes just the ethanol and outputs 0 to 5 on ethanol. That's not at all how that sensor works. The ethanol sensor, the ethanol content analyzer, analyzes temperature, and analyzes ethanol concentration, and it throws an error when there's water. Okay, you don't get any of that except for somewhat ethanol when you have a converter box. If you take the digital signal and go right to digital 8, or what I usually do on the cars, the Subarus for example, is I use the MAF harness. You can undo all the clips. You can run to the other side of the car if you want. It's long enough you can take it off of the passenger side, run along the firewall. Nice OEM wiring, looks really good. You got 12 volts, which is what the ethanol content analyzer uses, is 12 volts. You have 12 volts, you have ground, and you have signal on the MAF, okay? Now, the MAF on the Boomslang Harness is AN4, I believe. I pull that sucker out, boop, and I put it into DI8, that open hole I showed you. And then I run those 3 wires from the analyzer right to the ECU. Then I have fuel temp. I don't need a separate fuel temperature sensor. I have fuel temp right there in that meter. One input. I have fuel temp and ethanol in it. So I use one digital input. I get fuel temp. I get ethanol. I get the diagnostics information associated with that. It's no failures from the Cobb sensor, which fail or converter fail all the time. Also, their wiring kind of sucks. The wiring is, they use a really cheap wire. It seems to break a lot. A lot of failures, breaking off of pins and everything. Their harness is not that good. So getting rid of that and going just OEM wires all the way to ethanol content analyzer, big win, absolutely. If you have fuel temp, yeah, so some cars have fuel temp. That's in the tank, and that's fine. You can use factory fuel temp in the tank if you want. There's no reason you can't. However, the fuel pump does heat it up. The lines and everything run along through the car and in the engine bay do change the temperature of the fuel. So if you want the most accurate fuel temp, you get it as close to the engine as you can. If you have your ethanol content analyzer in the engine bay, then that's as close as you're going to get on fuel temp. And you don't need the one in the tank unless you want to know, why is my fuel pressure dropping? That's weird. And then you notice that at 120 degrees Fahrenheit, at high flow rates, you tend to get a lot of pressure drop. That happens all the time. GRs especially, that basket that they have their fuel pumps in is ass. And when you put a bigger pump in it and you're moving more flow, and the pressure or the temperature in that fuel gets over like 120, 125, the suction of the pump starts vaporizing the fuel, and you just start feeding fuel vapor into the fuel lines, and you lose a significant amount of flow rate, and your AFRs go pew, super lean. And then everyone thinks, oh, my fuel pump failed. Oh, this DW pump is trash. It failed. Oh, this AEM pump is trash. It failed. And it's not. It's that the fuel temp went over 120-something degrees, and they were just fucking vaporizing fuel and all of that. So you could use that in-tank sensor to go, oh, 120, I need to let it cool off or whatever. C23 on OEM. The Boomslang Emtron harness shows it going to C10, so it exists. Came across where if I check base fuel pressure at cold start, it's different when I check after I've driven for a while. Yeah, well, that's depends on when you check it, right? Because first thing that happens when you start the car cold is the fuel pump runs at 100% for 10 seconds to a minute based on temperature and that kind of stuff. And so the fuel pump runs at 100%. And so if you check it then, yeah, you're going to have higher pressure because your regulator spring is more compressed. And what happens to springs and they compress, the pressure goes up. That's why fuel pump speed control exists in the first place. So, I mean, if you think about it, if I have a pump running, huge pump, running full tilt, it's going to be opening that regulator really far. Regulator is going to have to open really far to bypass enough fuel flow to keep the pressure down. Well, that's going to have a higher pressure than if the same pump's running at full speed, but your injector duty cycle is like 90%. Now your bypass rate is going to drop a ton because most of it's going to the injectors now. So if it's going to the injectors, and your bypass closes, your spring is less compressed, your pressure is going to drop a little bit. And so the regulators that have short springs, they're going to have the worst fuel pressure and in overruns, or not overrun scenarios, in high fuel flow scenarios. Longer regulators with longer, more linear springs tend to work a lot better. But it also depends on the ball and seat that is used in the regulator, or if it's a poppet valve, or what it is. So all that stuff matters. All that stuff affects the fuel pressure through the flow rates. So it's ideal to have a fuel pressure sensor that tells the ECU fuel pressure is off by a little bit, and the ECU will automatically scale the injectors as necessary to maintain the exact fueling needed. It's also really nice to have fuel pump speed control so that you can run the pump slower at low loads so you don't have the regulator way open. Right? If you keep that regulator in a much narrower operating range, you have much more stable pressure. It's good to have a regulator, like I said, with a long spring, big body regulator that has a good sized valve in it, and things like that. You can also have air and fuel, so you want air when I start hot after a few hours. It's probably vapor though, right? There's a difference between air and vapor. It's more likely fuel vapor that absorbed heat, it vaporized, the pressure dropped, and then it vaporized, and you got this slug of fuel vapor in the line. And then you fire it up, and the pressure goes up, and some of it starts to, go back down, but you're going to have these pockets, and they're going to try and transfer their heat back into the liquid around it and all that. But yeah, you can have sleek vapor. And that's why the ECU runs the fuel pump at 100%. I mean, you got a small primary fuel pump anyways on the factory car, you're at 100%, you flush the vapor out of the line. That's why they do that. But if you have a gigantic 550 or whatever, you don't need to do that. Like, it's going to push it out pretty quick. But in the case of the factory pump, that's why they run the regulator at 100%, the fuel pump at 100% on a startup, is to get rid of any vapor that could be in the lines. Especially if you're trying to start the car. The engine is the hottest area. So if your fuel rails are loaded with vapor, you're not going to get fuel into your car. It's not going to start. You're going to get vapor lock, right? That's what's called vapor lock. So by having that 100% running, my nose is itching. I think I can't hear. By having that 100%, you flush that system and get the vapor out of there. And that's why return style setups, in my opinion, are superior to deadhead setups. If it's a deadhead setup, then that vapor is stuck in that rail until either the injector pukes it out, or until the pressure goes up enough to help squish that down, squish down all that vapor, or condense it back into a liquid. Hot starts cut out and try to first start, so it took a second time. Then I checked fuel pressure, and it was like 5 psi lower than base. Issue with hot starts cutting out. Yeah, that's typically hot starts with modified cars are too rich. For Subarus, typically if it's a Subaru, the hot start is too rich because of the fuel pump running 100%. Typically. Yeah, they either misfire or die or whatever, and it could be. But 5 psi usually isn't enough for it to die. Like that's not usually enough. That means post start enrichment was too low. Yeah. So what you're describing is a case where the post start enrichment is too low, or the cranking enrichment decay is too fast. I think Paul's trolling me. No, they're not accurate, dude. Bti gauges are not accurate. Every single one reads like multiple pounds of boost higher than actual. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. So, anyways, Kenneth, to answer your question, that sounds like a cranking enrichment decay was too fast or post start wasn't high enough. Super common. I've had a lot of customers that get tuned, especially on standalones, where their startup sucks and they don't know why. And it's because their tuner just didn't know that he's supposed to put a bunch of fuel in it. You got to put a lot of fuel in them. For the first like half a second after it fires, you're dumping hundreds of percent more fuel than normally needed, and then you quickly decay that away, and then bring it to a more normal amount. And the reason for that is when the engine sits for a while, the fuel evaporates, and that means that the puddle that's supposed to be on the cylinder walls is no longer there. And so when you start the engine, you have to restore the puddle, and that happens. You shoot the injectors, it sticks to the ports and doesn't go in the engine. And so for a short period of time, most of the fuel you're putting into the engine is going to just the puddle in the ports before it even hits the engine or hits the cylinders. Let's see. But I set fuel pressure when it was hot. I don't have that problem anymore as of yet. Yeah, I mean, still, that's what it sounds like. I mean, 5 pounds, that's not enough. 5 pounds is not enough to cause a car to start. I have cars that have really fast bleeding regulators, and when you hit the key for the first second, the pump pressure comes up, the system primes, and the pump turns off, and the pressure goes, and you crank, and it'll still start. And it's like 15 to 20 pounds lower than it should be when the engine actually catches, and all of that. So, yeah, and so yeah, Anton's drops fast too, and all that. And so I mean, it really the key is getting that crank enrichment hold and then decay, and then the post start hold and then decay set correctly so that the puddle gets all the fuel that it needs. And really, you want a slight surplus. And so it sounds like yours was barely fucking adequate, right? And by that 5 psi made it inadequate, that meant you were barely adequate. So your engine was probably running lean. Even when you brought it up, it was running lean, but it was lean enough for it to fire and run instead of running a few points rich after post start and having everything stabilized. So it still sounds like mostly the tune. The system should not be that sensitive. It just shouldn't be. You should be able to start it up with a lot less pressure than that. So does the factory pump run in 3 stages only? Yes. The factory pump does 33, 66, 99. And Anton says that the controller is only capable of those 3 stages, which is very possible. I haven't tested that any further. I could have swore that I varied the pump and got varying results, but he says that he wasn't getting varying results. So maybe the GTR pump controller is a little bit different. Maybe it has more steps. I'm not sure. But regardless of that, the factory pump the factory thing is set up 33, 66, 99. Now, whether or not that's just the super ECU of the controller, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know whether they do that for ease of calibration or what. But that is adequate. I mean, that's even a big pump running 33% isn't that big of a deal. You don't need a whole lot of bypass flow on a big pump at 33%. So, but the 100% is often too much. You get a lot of the cars where the big pump runs 100% after you start it, and it goes really rich on post start and sputters from being way too rich because the fuel pressure jumps up to like 80 psi, giving you like 50% more fuel and everything else. So Anton says he verified it with a voltmeter, checking there's only 3 modes, 3 changes. That's cool. And you know, I can test that too. You can too with the Emtron, where I could do it on my position switch. I have the Emtron 10 position switch. I can just set each position of that to be a fuel speed map and just click it by 10 increments and see what output changes. and then that'll give us, you know, good indications too, which is probably what you did. But did you check the GTR controller or just the Subaru controller? I'm curious about that. I could have swore the GTR controller had different different settings. I'm gonna eat another pepper here. With gauges for the stock ECU? Honestly, probably AM. Unless you're looking to display OBD data, then they have OBD-based gauges you can use that display OBD data, but yeah, probably AM. I don't like the Pro Sports. They're relatively accurate. They're just clunky as fuck. I had Pro Sports in my STI. They were just so clunky. The Defies had all kinds of cool features, but they're always off, like by a lot. And their low pressure warning for oil pressure was cancerous. Sitting all the time. Oh, I hate it. So I wouldn't run Defies for that. The replay feature is really cool though. That record and replay feature, that's really neat. I do dig that. But what good's the replay if it's not accurate? I don't know. What else is there? PLX has some gauges. They're pretty decent, but they're clunky electrically, not physically, like the Pro Sports. But they're pretty accurate, and they have some expansion capabilities, and you can put like multiple ones on the screen, kind of like the BTI stuff. So that's cool. I just don't like the way they look. There's auto meter, of course, right? Everyone's run those before, but those are okay, I guess. What else? The fuck? Oh. That's all that comes to mind. Glow shift. Well, I fucking forgot about glow shift. Does BTI have any OBD stuff? Do they have OBD gauges? I don't know. I haven't looked. It looks like it's all aftermarket ECUs. I think I talked to him at one point many years ago, and I was telling him, dude, you should get the factory stuff, you know, like like the access port, for example. I mean, it pulls all the factory data. So why not? Actually, you want to close the application, yes. Why not set up an OBD one that works with the factory Subaru stuff? I thought, I mean, fuck, could you imagine? You could do a lot of cool stuff with that, but because honestly, like, I hate looking at an access port. I hate looking at them. They're so alien in the compartment. They don't fit anywhere really well. People get those stupid fucking vent mounts that are just cancer on wheels. The one on the top left on the dash. God, I fucking hate that mount. Or you attach it to glue it to your dash, and there's a cable cut on the bottom of it. I hate looking at them. I hate it. It's not even that good of an interface. Like, it's not even that good looking as far as the interface is concerned. The peak and the high and the low and everything. It's just really boring. If you want analog stuff with sweeps, you gotta reduce your gauges down to like 4 to get anything that has a little bit of a indication of a bar or anything. I don't like it. I don't like it. So I really wanted Brandon to come up with something cool, whether it be the screen or the 52 mil gauges. I mean, could you imagine if he had 52 mil gauges that talked to the OBD bus and displayed all the information you have, like the access part, all that stuff available on it? You had menus for that shit, and right through it. Like it would be awesome. But yeah, everything is got on here. AM, Pro EFI, Motec, East Western Haltech, Link, Adaptronic, Honda, Emtron, Hondata, Emtron. Yeah, that's it. Nothing about OBD, which is a bummer because there are some generic OBD protocols that still give decent data, and then there's obviously the SSM stuff, which is pretty good. Yeah, that's true. Anton says Defi's mostly for show, anyways. But when something bad happens, it ain't like you're staring at the gauge when it happens. And what are the odds you're staring at the gauge when something goes wrong? Not good. Not very good odds of that happening at all. This cat. What's up? Just chilling, huh? Oh, hey, how's it going? Sorry to wake you up. It's not 7 yet. She gets her food at 7. And her medication, and she never forgets to remind us. All right, that's it, I think. My wife, she's doing great. She's working, but she hurt her wrist, as you may or may not know. Some tendon thing, where they call it tendinosynovitis or something shit like that. And it's a bummer because she likes to do stuff. She likes to work. She likes to do stuff around the house, build kits, which I need a bunch. I just picked up the last bit of supplies I need to build more cooling mods. Thank God. No, it's not carpal tunnel. It's like carpal tunnel, but it's like right here on this tendon for the thumb. This one here, this extensor tendon for the thumb. She was doing some stuff and irritated the sheath in it, and it's called tendinosynovitis, I think is what it's called. So it's the sheath of the tendon that's irritated, I think, and it swelled up a lot too. So she heard it a long time ago, and in the garden, that kind of stuff. So last I heard, she wasn't feeling well, and I sent stuff like carnivore diet. That was for me, wasn't it? Oh no, for her it wasn't. Her it was just she had high cholesterol. She was feeling fine. She had a cold a while ago. She was feeling fine, but she had high cholesterol, like 270. Doctor was like, "What the?" Like, yeah, we eat a lot of beef. What do you want? So she went on a little bit of a diet and got it down to 240 something. But her doctor and us all agree that there's just some genetic shit about cholesterol, and if your diet overall is good and you're not gonna have, and your plaque formation isn't really high, then what the fuck does it matter? So there's a test. Oh, the cat's stuck. Really? True. Drink. Yeah, you did it, not me. There's tests they can do to look and see how much plaque formation there actually is in her arteries. So she's on the list to get that done. So they can test it and say like, oh look, you got no plaque buildup anyway, so you're good to go. The doctor was like, I don't want to put you on medication. Obviously, you made a difference. You're just high. Your diet's good. There's no reason to put you on medication if you're not having issues associated with that. Now, if she was having more heart issues, she does have some palpitations happen on occasion. But if she was having like lots of weird heart issues and was, out of breath and winded and had all these signs that she was going to have a heart attack or she had a bunch of blockage or something, then obviously we want to put her on something. That being said, her dad had to have a triple bypass because he was like 90-something% blocked on some of the arteries in his heart. So she should get the test to make sure that that's not the case. That she's not following in her dad's footsteps there. So yeah. Anyways, we'll see. We'll see how she does. But other than the hurt wrist and the cholesterol, she's great. Makes me the happiest man ever, and I admire her a lot. Her work ethic is really good, and her motivation is really high. I wish I was as motivated as she was. As she is. She's very motivated. She's inspiring to be around. So it's good. Oh, Anton, if you're still here, it just showed up today. So should I unbox the KYY? Oh yeah, KYY Amazon screen. This is for those who don't know. I had some pictures online. Anton's car when it was here, he brought one of these screens with him, and we bungee corded. He, not me. I had nothing to do with it. I said that would be cool, and then he did it. So he bungee corded one of these screens to the steering wheel. Now these screens are actually surprisingly good. It comes with this case that doubles as a stand, so that's really cool. The case doubles as a stand. You like put this over here like this or some shit. See how you do it? I don't know, something like this, things like that. Anyways, doubles as a little bit of a stand, and then it's USB-C on the side and HDMI, and it comes with USB to USB-C, so you can do that. Two USB-Cs, and I think, yeah, full-size HDMI to mini HDMI. So it's both. So I can put this somewhere else in the car and use it for tuning. So I got one. It was cool. I'm going to make a little device to hold it to the steering wheels on cars. So I can use it more often. It was really handy. I liked it. It was a little bit getting used to, obviously, because I've been tuning leaned over to my right side for 30 fucking years. I've been tuning for 30 years. I started in 92. 30 years. So yeah, I've been tuning leaned over to the right, doing this for 30 years. So doing this was just turning my head straight to tune was absolutely different. Required some learning, that's for sure. 30 years. Ugh. Good thing I like it, right? What point you check your base fuel pressure? First start up when cold or when the car's warmed up? Oh, I would definitely, almost anything should be in the condition that it's going to be operated the most, or the condition where you need the most accuracy, right? So I need everything to be the most correct and accurate in power when it's at operating temperature, things like that. You know, I'm not going to be able to do fuel pressure at full throttle, right? But if you do fuel pressure differential, either with the cob or with the aftermarket ECU, well, then you can just check it whenever. It's there. And you can take a log and look at it and go, oh, it's low, and you turn it up, and then turn it up. So, yeah, you want the things to be accurate and correct in the operating condition that you need them to be the most accurate and correct, which is going to be when the engine is more likely to fail, not at startup, right? It's going to be when your foot's in it and you're going somewhere fast. So that's what I would do. That's my my take on it. What was the first thing I tuned? It was a carburetor. It was an Edelbrock AFB. Edelbrock had just acquired the Weber AFB, Carter AFB. Just acquired the Carter AFB design in the late 80s. And so I did it, and the Edelbrock, I think it was a 750 manual choke, square bore, 4-barrel Edelbrock. Probably the 1701. Is that the part number for that? The 1701? Let's see. It's been a while. They don't use that number anymore. Oh wait, maybe they do. 1706 is a 600. 1705 is a 600. Oh, 1405. 1701 is now a manifold. $1407. There it is. Edelbrock 1407, 750 manual choke. Yeah. Maybe it was 1407 the whole time. Slight dyslexia of numbers, anyways. Like Matt, your house, if you're here still, Matt. I thought I had your address memorized all 3 times. And all 3 times I put the wrong numbers. Well, the right numbers is the wrong order. I don't even know what it is right now. Because I don't remember what's the right and wrong order anymore. Like I was like, it's 4302 or something like that. I was wrong. I think it's 2403. Something like that. Anyways. Yeah, it was so that was on a 73 Pontiac Grand Am. Now I gotta back up. That's actually not the first one I tuned. That was the first one I tuned myself. Before that, we did some Edelbrocks and some Rochesters and some Hollies on friends' trucks. 61 Chevy flare side and a 62 step side. One of them had a 275 straight 6 in it, and one of them had a small block in it. And then my dad's truck, when it was his truck, had a Rochester on it for a while. We called it the double pumper because you had to pump the throttle twice to get the secondaries to open. The Quadrajet wasn't a double pumper, but that's what we called it. Because you could punch it and it just wouldn't do anything. So you had to pump the throttle twice and the secondaries would open and whoop, would take off. So I had messed with those a lot with helping my friends and everything. Trying to figure out how to make them work right and rebuild them and everything else. And then the first one alone was my own on the 73 Pontiac that I got from my dad when I was in high school. And then after that, it just became friends' cars. Then it was like my friends' families' cars. Then it was like my friends' families' dude told their friend that I knew what I was doing. And then next thing I knew, people were calling me like crazy. And they were contacting me through other friends. And then I joined the military. And then I was doing the nuclear program in the Navy and doing all this nuclear shit. They teach you about fluid flow, heat transfer, thermodynamics, chemistry, electrical theory. I was an electrician. Electrical theory, pumps, motors, generators, sensors, how sensors work, how, gauges work, pressure gauges, voltage, current, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the old mechanical gauges, like pressure gauges, would be like what was called at the time a board-on tube. It was a metal tube that was bent, and then when pressure, when it was exposed to pressure, it would flex and straighten out some and turn a mechanism for a needle or things like that. How voltmeters are actually ammeters and ammeters are actually voltmeters. It's pretty interesting about how you measure one versus the other. So a lot of shit like that in the Navy. And so when I was doing that, I was like, oh my God, that's how that works. And then we're doing Bernoulli's and Venturi stuff. We did a lot of Venturi stuff because flow meters use Venturis. And I'm like, holy shit, that's a carburetor. There's a Venturi in there, you know. And so I started putting all that stuff together when I was learning about nuclear reactors and everything. So I came out of there like understanding way more than I had previously, you know, understood about it. And it just avalanche from there. It's just exponential growth from that point on. Question: I'm going to move the IT sensor I was using for speed density if we're using TMAP for intake temp. Or do we need to retain an IT pre-throttle body? The TMAP sensor is pre-throttle body. The TMAP sensor goes in the charge pipe. It is on the turbocharger / intercooler side of the throttle body. That's where the TMAP goes. And then you will have a map sensor in the intake manifold, whatever one you want to use. That doesn't matter to me. If you're using the factory location map sensor, as long as it goes high enough, I prefer the Cobb 4 bar. If you're doing that, if you're using a custom manifold or something, you can run a map sensor off something else. If you want to go fancy, you can get a better map sensor that's less susceptible to noise and that kind of stuff and put it somewhere else. But you will have a map sensor in the charge pipe between the intercooler and the throttle body. That's the TMAP. That's going to tell us the charge temperature as well as the pressure in that. And then, yeah, get rid of the Omni. And then in the manifold, you're going to run like the Cobb 4 bar or the GR, the factory GR sensor. The factory GR goes 30 pounds. So if you're not running more than 30 pounds, then the factory GR is great. If you are running more than 30 pounds, then the steel-bodied AEM sensors, the stainless steel-bodied ones, I mean, or the Emtron 4 bars and 5 bars, those are good solutions for sure to go with. Now, if you're using the Emtron, it will do a better job with the Omni than the factory ECU will. The factory ECU is very sensitive to noise. It's very sensitive to the offset of the sensor. And the Omnis have a scaler and an offset that the factory ECU doesn't like. The Emtron doesn't give a fuck. It's not going to care what offset and scaler it is. It's going to read it. If it, you put whatever you want, it's going to be fine with that. But the logic in the factory ECU is written around some voltages, not just some other inputs, and they kind of mess things up. But the Emtron doesn't give a shit. So I mean, you can use the Omni, but just know that they're a little noisy, and they drift sometimes, so they're not super great, in my opinion. But yeah, if you ran like a steel-bodied, like one of the AM sensors or Honeywell sensors, those are good ones for the manifold. The Emtron sensor is good for the manifold and all of that. Now the other cat's here. What do you want? A lot more cows this year. We have more cows this year. So it's been kind of loud at the moment sometimes. And the cats are standing there going, what the fuck is that? They stand there, the cows. It's pretty funny. Let's see.